You are waiting to hear about something, and whatever it is not going to reach you tonight. There is no one to ask, and nowhere to look, and the morning is the earliest it could possibly come. So there is nothing here to stay up for. This is just a story about a warm room in the middle of the night. Nothing happens in it that anyone has to worry about, and nobody has to stay awake for it. It is completely fine. In fact, it is the whole idea to fall asleep somewhere in the middle. If nights like this one help you rest, you are warmly invited to subscribe, perhaps tomorrow when you are awake. For now, there is nothing you need to do. The street outside is empty and cold. The pavement holds the chill of the night, and the streetlights cast pools of orange light that do not warm anything. You have been walking for a while, or perhaps you have been standing still, but either way, the cold has gotten into your collar and your fingertips. The shops are dark. The offices are dark. The windows are black, and behind them, the desks are empty. The computers are off, and the people who know the thing you are waiting to know are asleep in their own beds in other parts of the city, or perhaps in other cities entirely. There is no light on in the building where your answer is sitting. There is no one there to check on it, to move it forward, to tell you anything at all. There is no version of tonight where you find out. No one is awake to decide. The decision has already been made, or it will be made in the morning by hands that are not yours, and staying awake will not bring those hands to their work any sooner. You could keep walking. The cold would keep you sharp, and sharpness feels like preparation, but it is not. It is just cold. But your feet know this doorway. They have brought you here before, on other nights when the waiting felt too heavy to carry alone, even though no one here will carry it for you. The bakery is unlocked at an hour when nothing else is. It is a small shop, unremarkable, with a faded green door and a window that has been shuttered since evening. You push the door, and the bell makes a small sound, a single chime that is neither cheerful nor mournful, just a fact. It lets the room know you are here, but it does not demand a greeting. It does not demand anything. Inside, it is warm. The warmth hits your face like a cloth that has been heated, soft and immediate. The air is thick with flour and yeast, and the particular warmth of a room that has held heat all day and is keeping it in now that the dark has come. It smells of old wood and living dough and the faint mineral scent of water that has been boiled and cooled many times. You take off your boots and leave them by the door because that is what you do here. You have been coming to this corner for years on nights like this, and the routine is older than the reason you came tonight. The floor is tile, cold at the edges where your socks touch it, but warming toward the center where the ovens hold their heat. There is a stool in the corner by the ovens. It is wooden, three-legged, and worn smooth where people have sat before you. The seat is slightly concave from years of weight, polished by the friction of fabric and hands. You settle onto it and feel the wood take your weight with a small creak. You pull your coat over your knees. The coat is heavy wool, and it scratches slightly against your wrists as you arrange it, but it traps your body heat against your legs. The collar is turned up, and it brushes against your cheek. You can feel the weave of the wool, the slight stiffness where it has been damp from previous nights and dried again. The ovens are not lit yet for the day's baking, or perhaps they are holding only the low pilot flame, but their walls give off a steady warmth that reaches you where you sit. You can feel it against your right shoulder, a constant presence that does not change. It is a plain warmth, the kind that does not ask you to feel anything in particular. It is just there, like the floor is there, like the air is there. The baker is already at the bench. He is a man of middle height, wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and an apron that was once white, but is now the color of bone and flour dust. He did not look up when the bell rang, and he does not look up now. He is working flour into a measure with a scoop. The scoop is metal, and when he draws it through the flour in the bin, it makes a sound like dry rain, a soft hiss. He lifts it, and his thumb levels the flour with a motion he has made so many times that he does not need to watch it. The flour is white and fine, and it takes the light from the single lamp hanging over the bench, catching in the air like dust motes that fall too slowly. The rest of the shop is dark behind the shutters. You can see the long, scarred wooden bench. The flour settled into its grain and into the seams between the boards. The racks against the wall loaded with empty tins, and the shelf of proofing baskets. Everything is in its place. Everything has been set hours ago, before you arrived, before the street grew cold. The baker sets the scoop down. It makes a soft sound against the wood, a clink that is muted by the flour. He takes the bench scraper, a rectangle of metal with a wooden handle, and runs it along the surface of the bench, gathering the loose flour into a pile. The scraper is metal and makes a quiet rasp when he lifts it, knocking it clean against the edge of the bin. The sound is brief and definite. He does these things in order, at his own pace, because that is how a night begins here. There is no hurry in his shoulders. There is no tension in his hands. You watch him take a cloth from the hook on the wall. It is a plain cotton cloth, stiff with use and flour. slightly gray from washing. He shakes it out once, a dry snap in the quiet room, and lays it over a bowl that sits at the back of the bench. The bowl is large, ceramic, and under that cloth is dough that was mixed this afternoon. It has been there for hours, doing its slow work in the warm dark. You can see the dome of it under the cloth, rising gradually, pushing the fabric up in a gentle curve. The baker does not lift the cloth to check it. He does not press a finger into it to see if it springs back. He knows what is happening underneath. The yeast is living and working, consuming and growing, and the dough is rising, but it will not be ready any sooner for being looked at. It will not rise faster if he worries about it. It will be ready when it is ready. That is not something he has to manage. It is just something that happens while he gets on with other things in the warm dark on its own schedule. He moves to the rack of tins. They are steel, rectangular, and they nest inside one another. He takes them down one by one, and they make small metallic sounds as he handles them, a sliding clatter that is not loud. He sets them in a row on the lower shelf, arranging them so they sit evenly. Not hurried, not slow, just moving from one necessary thing to the next. There is no question about whether they will be ready in time. There is no question about whether he will finish. There is nothing at stake in the arranging of tins. They are simply set in order, and when he is done with that, he will do the next thing, and after that, the next. You feel your shoulders drop. You feel them settle down away from your ears, the muscles letting go of a hold they did not know they were keeping. You did not decide to let them drop. They just do, because the room is warm and the only task is sitting still, and because the baker is not looking at you with any expectation. Your hands find each other under the fabric of your coat, resting on your knees, the fingers loose. You do not need to hold anything. He takes a wooden peel down from the wall. It is long and pale, made of birch or beech, and when he runs his hand along it to check for splinters, it makes a dry rasp against his palm, a sound like sandpaper on soft wood. He leans it against the bench, and then he stands there for a moment, looking at nothing in particular, his hands empty at his sides. The clock on the wall is not loud, but you can hear it if you listen. It ticks with a low, dry sound. It does not matter what time it shows. The night is long, and the dough is rising, and the answer you are waiting for is behind a locked door in a dark building across the city where no one is working tonight. Nothing you do in this room will bring the morning closer. Nothing you think will change what has already been decided, or what will be decided by people who are currently asleep. The waiting is just the shape of the hours, not a job that someone has to work. It is not a post that needs a sentry. The baker knows this. He does not pace. He does not check the clock. He walks to the sink in the corner and turns the tap, and water runs for a moment into a tin cup that hangs there. He drinks it standing up, 3 slow swallows, then sets the cup in the basin. He wipes his hands on a towel that hangs from his belt, a mechanical gesture that leaves flour streaks on the fabric. Then he goes back to the bench, but he does not uncover the dough. He picks up one of the proofing baskets instead, one of the long, coiled ones made of rattan. He turns it over in his hands, checking the weave for breaks, running his thumb along the inside where the flour has settled into the grain of the wicker. It is a small thing, unimportant, but it occupies his hands while the time passes. It gives them something to do while the yeast works in the bowl under the cloth. You pull your coat tighter over your knees. The fabric is wool, and it scratches a little against your chin when you tuck your head down, but it is warm. Your boots are by the door, waiting for when you will need them again, but that is a long way off now. The baker sets the basket down and takes up a small knife from the block, testing its edge with his thumb, feeling for the bite of the blade. He sets it aside on the bench. He does not need it yet. He will need it later, when the dough is ready, when it is time to score the loaves. But that is not now. Now is just the waiting. He picks up a stiff brush from the windowsill and sweeps the floor behind the bench, a short, economical motion that gathers the fallen flour into a small pile. The bristles make a scratchy sound against the tile. He does not sweep thoroughly, just enough to keep the floor from becoming slippery. It is maintenance, not cleaning. It is something to do with the hands while the dough rises. The lamp over the bench flickers slightly, or perhaps it is just the filament settling in the heat. The light is yellow, and it makes a small pool on the work surface, illuminating the dusting of flour, the handle of the scraper, the edge of the cloth covering the bowl. Beyond that pool, the room is dim, and beyond the room, the street is cold and empty. But here, the air is still and warm, and the only movements are the small, certain movements of a man preparing for a morning that is still hours away. You feel your head grow heavy. It is not a decision you make to let it droop. It just happens, because the stool is hard but familiar, and the warmth is steady, and there is nothing you have to follow. The baker moves to the oven and opens the heavy steel door, checking the interior with a glance, not putting anything in yet, just looking into the dark cavity where the heat is stored. The warmth comes out in a wave that you can feel from your corner, a breath of dry heat against your cheek. And then he closes the door again. It is not time. It will be time later, when the dough has finished its slow work. For now, the oven waits, and the dough waits, and the baker waits, and you wait. And none of these waitings are anxious. They are just the nature of the night. They are just what happens between afternoon and morning. He sits down on his own stool, the one by the far end of the bench. It creaks under his weight, a wooden sound that is lower than the ticking of the clock. He rests his hands on his knees. They are broad hands, dusted with flour at the knuckles. He is not looking at you. He is not looking at the dough. He is not looking at anything. He is just sitting, because the next step cannot happen yet, and he knows better than to rush what is working slowly in the dark under the cloth. He has done this enough times to know that the hours between the setting and the knowing are not empty. They are full of the slow work of yeast and warmth and time, things that do not need his attention to be real, things that do not need anyone's attention. The dough does not know he is there. It simply rises. You could close your eyes. You do not have to, but you can. The story continues without you needing to watch it. The baker will sit there for a while, and then he will rise and do the next thing, perhaps shaping the loaves, perhaps preparing the peels, and then the next. And the dough will rise, whether you see it or not. And the morning will come, whether you stay awake for it or not. But you do not need to stay awake. You do not need to man this post. The waiting is happening on its own, in the warm dark, in the covered bowl, in the offices that are shut until dawn. The answer is already written, or it will be written in the morning, and your being awake does not change the ink. Your chin touches the collar of your coat. The wool smells like dust and the street, but also like your own warmth now, your breath trapped in the fibers. The baker shifts on his stool. It makes a small wooden sound, a groan of wood against wood. He is looking at the floor, or perhaps at his own hands, which are folded in his lap now, the fingers loosely interlaced. He is simply occupying the time that must pass. Nobody in this room needs anybody else to be here. The lamp flickers again. The room grows dimmer, but not cold. The warmth is in the walls, in the floor, in the air that you breathe. It is a warmth that does not ask anything of you. It does not need you to be alert or ready or even present. It will continue whether you are watching or not. The dough will continue to rise. The yeast will continue to work. The hours will pass. You let your eyes close. The darkness behind your lids is the same color as the room now, warm and close and dark brown. You can still hear the baker breathing, a slow in and out that matches no rhythm but his own. He is not trying to soothe you. He is just breathing, because that is what people do when they are waiting for something to be ready. You can hear the soft shift of his weight as he stands again, the quiet tread of his shoes on the flour-dusted floor, the faint metallic clink as he touches a tin and decides not to use it yet, setting it back down with a small, definite sound. He does the last of the small things. The tins are already in their row on the lower shelf, and he moves the end one a little so it sits square with the others. The proofing baskets are stacked and ready. He takes the towel from his belt and wipes the bench down. One pass, and then another, gathering the last of the flour toward the edge, and knocks the scraper clean against the bin. The cloth over the bowl he does not touch. Then he walks the length of the bench and reaches up and turns the lamp down. The pool of light on the wood goes small and dim, and the room comes in closer around it. He sits back down on his own stool at the far end and rests his hands on his knees and does not do anything else. It is not time. It will not be time for hours. Everything is set. Everything is already in motion that needs to be in motion. The dough is rising in its bowl under the cloth. The oven is warm and waiting. The morning will come. The answer will be there when the doors open, and not a moment sooner. You do not have to hold the night open. You do not have to keep watch over the hours. They are passing on their own, steadily, silently, carrying nothing that needs your hands on it. The baker knows this. He is not checking the dough. He is not checking the clock. He is just standing there, or sitting, being present in the room while the work happens slowly in the dark. Your hands are warm under the coat. Your feet are still in your socks, resting on the tile. The street outside is empty and will stay empty. The shop is quiet. The dough is rising in the dark, slow and certain, doing its work without witness, as it always has, as it always will. You can let go now. The story does not need you to follow it to the end. There is no end tonight, only the long, gentle middle. The hours still to go before anything is ready. The warmth, the darkness, the quiet, and sleep. The ovens hold their heat, and the room stays warm around you. Outside, the street stays empty, and the shutters stay closed. The building across the city where your answer is stays dark, and everyone in it stays asleep. And none of that is anything you are doing. The bull sits at the warm end of the bench under its cloth. Nobody is watching it. It is coming along anyway. Hours still to go, nothing in them that needs anyone. The lamp low, the room warm, the cloth where he left it. Nothing to be decided tonight, nothing to be found out. Just the warm dark and the hours going by on their own. Rest now, warm